Welcome to the third video in my Beginner's Guide to Self-Publishing a Book series. Be sure to watch the other videos in the series. The first video in the series was the 9 steps to self-publishing a book in 2022, and then the second video was a step-by-step tutorial on how to self-publish a book using Kindle Direct Publishing. Which brings us to today, which is a tutorial on how to self-publish a book with Barnes & Noble Press. But not only is it a tutorial, I'm going to be giving you tips and tricks along the way, and also telling you all the things that you should know about Barnes & Noble Press before you publish with them. Today I'm going through the process with a hardcover book because I feel like usually when someone goes through Barnes & Noble Press, it's so they can print a hardcover book. Now, while I'll be physically uploading a hardcover book, know that all the steps apply, just things are slightly more complicated with the hardcover because the jacket design is a little different. With that said, let's get on to the video, and if you want weekly videos on the business of being an author, then be sure to give this video a thumbs up, comment down below, and hit that subscribe button. Okay, so before we jump on my computer and get into the tutorial part of this video, I do want to talk about some things that you should know about Barnes & Noble Press that makes them pretty different from other print-on-demand companies. Number 1, they print both paperback and hardcover. Number 2, printing through Barnes & Noble Press means that your book will only be distributed through Barnes & Noble. It will not be on Amazon, just the Barnes & Noble website. Number 3, your book will not be sold in stores automatically. Yes, if someone physically went to Barnes & Noble and asked for the book, they would be able to order it. However, just because you print your book through Barnes & Noble Press does not mean they will carry it in Barnes & Noble stores. There has to be enough of a demand for an author and for a specific book in order for Barnes & Noble to want to carry that book on their shelves regularly. Otherwise, they usually only order copies if someone requests the book. Number 4, you can publish through multiple print-on-demand companies at a time. So if you print through Barnes & Noble Press, you can also print through Kindle Direct Publishing. However, I learned the hard way in uploading my own files that you actually can't use the same ISBN. This is different than it works for other companies, so usually you need to have the same ISBN when you're printing through multiple print-on-demand companies. For example, if you print through both Ingram Spark and Kindle Direct Publishing, the ISBNs for the paperback books need to be the same so they link up properly and there aren't 2 listings on Amazon for your book. However, this is the opposite for Barnes & Noble because Barnes & Noble is only printing for Barnes & Noble. So they want their own completely separate ISBN. So if you print through Barnes & Noble as well as Kindle Direct Publishing, you're going to have 2 different ISBNs. Even if both editions are paperback editions. So this also means you technically will have 2 editions of the book floating around, even though it's the same content, same cover, same everything. It's just one of those weird quirks that Barnes & Noble Press has. I even contacted them to ask about it, and they were very clear that when you publish through Barnes & Noble Press, it needs to have a completely separate ISBN. Number 5, Barnes & Noble Press does let you do pre-orders for your book. So this is great if you want to do a pre-order for your paperback or hardcover book. Like I've said in the past, Kindle Direct Publishing does not offer pre-orders for their print books right now, but Barnes & Noble Press does. However, again, this pre-order is only through the Barnes & Noble website. Number 6, Barnes & Noble Press actually uses the same printer as Ingram Spark to print their books. This is great for those who want the quality of Ingram Spark books, but you don't like the customer service or some of the other features that Ingram Spark has. Number 7, they won't put a not for sale bar across the cover. If you've ever published a book with KDP, you know that when you order proof copies or any copy of your book before the book is officially published, they put a lovely not for resale bar across the entire cover, which mostly just makes it really ugly. A lot of authors like to get advanced reader copies of their books printed, whether that be for marketing purposes or just for a copy to have for themselves. But because KDP prints that ugly not for resale thing on the cover, a lot of people like to go to Barnes & Noble Press to print a copy or a few copies of their book before it's officially published. And this way the book looks official when you get it printed. Number 8, you don't have to pay to publish your book. Now this is kind of how it works for most print-on-demand companies. KDP, you don't have to pay a fee, but for places like Ingram Spark, you do have to pay a fee to publish your book. So we just wanted to point out that Barnes & Noble Press is one of the companies that doesn't have a fee. And lastly, number 9, you don't have to make your book public. So one of the first things you'll notice as we're uploading the book on Barnes & Noble Press, it'll ask if the book is just for you or if you plan on actually publishing it. So if you want to just print a hardcover edition of your book for the sake of having a hardcover edition of your book, you can do that through Barnes & Noble Press. This makes it so you don't have to worry about yourself accidentally making a listing for your book online. So let's get started on the tutorial, and let me know in the comments down below if you plan on printing with Barnes & Noble Press. Okay, so here we are on the Barnes & Noble Press website. As you can see, I've already gone ahead and done my own test upload for the paperback edition of Meet Me at the Summit. This is because at the end of all these tutorials that I'm posting on YouTube, I want to compare the print quality of all these print-on-demand companies that I'm talking about. So I did one for the paperback, and now I'm going to go ahead and create a hardcover edition of Meet Me at the Summit so we can test that as well. So if you're starting a completely new book, you would hit this Create a New Book button, but because I'm just creating a different version of Meet Me at the Summit, I'm going to hit this Start a New Version of Meet Me at the Summit button so I can do the hardcover. So they'll ask right away if you want it to be print or for ebook. If you do ebook, know that's for Nook and just Nook, not like all ebooks. But I'm going to do print and then hit next. And then do you want to sell your book or is it for personal use? So what I'm doing today is actually going to be for personal use, but I'm still going to hit sell your book because I want to show you guys the royalty rates of the book. So I'm just going to hit sell your book, but if you don't want to sell your book and you just want to print the book for yourself, you would hit keep it personal. Okay, next up, do you want this book to be set up as a pre-order? So for today, I'm just going to hit it's not a pre-order, but of course, if you do want to do a pre-order, you would hit that pre-order button. Okay, so this is when things start to get interesting. So Barnes & Noble does things a little bit different than most print-on-demand companies, where they ask you for the estimated page count. And honestly, they do it 50 pages at a time. And as a book cover designer myself, I can tell you that when you do estimates rounding to the nearest 50 numbers, the spine on the book may be slightly misaligned because for Ingram Spark, they round it to the nearest even number, and then KDP rounds it to the nearest 10 pages, but Barnes & Noble Press rounds it to the nearest 50 pages. So that means that when you have your book physically printed, the text on the spine, it's possible that it's not perfectly centered because the page count is estimated so much. My book is about 300 pages, so that's what I'm going to select today. And then the page size, my books are all 5.5 by 8.5, so I'm going to select that. And then I'm going to select regular black and white interior, and then I'm going to do a hardcover with a dust jacket, because personally that's what makes me think that Barnes & Noble Press stands out from KDP, because KDP doesn't offer a dust jacket for their hardcovers right now. So I'm going to select the dust jacket, and then I want a matte finish on the cover. And then the paper color, I find cream to be more professional looking. White, I will only select for like nonfiction, especially if the cover of the nonfiction has a lot of white. Otherwise, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to suggest that you guys go with cream paper, but it's really also just a personal preference. So after putting all that in, you can see right here that the estimated printing cost is $10.79. And keep in mind, this is for a hardcover. So that may sound a little pricey if you're used to paperback prices, but honestly, it's not bad. So here we are at the next step. This is where it tells us all about the interior. If you know what you're doing, you can click this button to skip straight to uploading your file. But otherwise, you can click through and learn everything about their printing standards. Now, I will say I encountered an issue with Barnes & Noble Press. If you want to print the interior book with a bleed, and this means that there's an image that extends all the way to all the sides. So I have InDesign opened up on my computer right now because I just wanted to visually show you guys something really quickly because we're talking about the interior files right now. So I use Adobe InDesign to format my books, and this is my book Meet Me at the Summit right here. This is chapter 1. Now, as you can see, this image goes all the way to the edge. So this red line right here is the bleed section. So you need to have a bleed set up if you're gonna have an image go all the way to the edge. And they explain that in here, especially if you click on their little formatting guide right here, it opens up to this lovely PDF that has all this info, but I personally just put in bleed and I search that and I find their instructions for bleed, and they say if you want your interior to have a bleed, it needs to have a bleed section of 0.125. So if you go into InDesign and then I go into document setup, you can see that my bleed is set up for 0.125 right here, which is slightly different than the bleed I normally have set up for, say, Ingram Spark or Kindle Direct Publishing. But I just had to adjust that quickly to get the correct settings. Because if you don't have that bleed set up as 0.125, it will reject your files saying that they're the wrong size. However, if you're printing your book without a bleed section, so for example, if I wanted to do that, I would just have to go in here and I'm going to remove this image. Now, if I go back to chapter 1, you can see that that image has disappeared. So now my document doesn't have a bleed, so I don't have to worry about those bleed settings at all. And I would just export this as a PDF without the bleed and then upload it to Barnes & Noble Press and it would be fine. So now that we've talked about that, that's really the only complicated part about uploading your interior files. But I'm going to go ahead and skip to upload my files so I can show you guys what it looks like. I will say Barnes & Noble Press takes a pretty long time for their files to upload and process and look good. But I have found that if it takes a long time to upload, that means that you have your file settings correct. If your file settings aren't correct, then they will reject you very quickly. So if it's taking a while, rest assured you probably did something right. Okay, so it took a little bit, but my files uploaded and here they are right here. You can either download the PDF or you can just view it right here. You can just scroll through to make sure everything looks okay. Now the only thing concerning here is that my image doesn't go all the way to the inner edge, but this edge right here is actually the part that is the spine of the book. So I imagine that won't be an issue. We'll see later when the physical book actually arrives. So make sure you subscribe because I will do an unboxing and review of the Barnes & Noble Press books. But once you go through and you make sure everything looks good, you're going to click that I have reviewed and approved my manuscript button and then hit the save and continue button. This next step is for the cover, so you can either upload your entire cover file at once or you can upload like the front, the spine, and the back all separately. I'm not sure why you would do that unless you designed it that way. But most people and most cover designers design the full cover wrap. So I'm going to select that and hit continue. So again, just like the interior portion, it really has a bunch of these different things to just kind of walk you through what's going on and what you need to know. It explains the folds, it explains the font and how to embed fonts and the file types and blah, blah, blah. To give you guys a quick idea, here's my book wrap in Photoshop. This is not the official wrap. Meet Me at the Summit is not a hardcover edition yet. It will be a hardcover edition. I will be releasing the hardcover edition for the anniversary of the book, so be on the lookout for that. But I just made this kind of placeholder hardcover wrap just so I could get the book printed. Honestly, I would never leave this flap over here like this. I think this is really ugly, but again, I just want to print it, do an experiment, see how it looks. But basically, this is what I designed in Photoshop, and I exported it as a PDF, and that's what I'm going to upload to Barnes & Noble Press now. Oh, and before I upload, I do want to note that the way you get this template right here is that you go to the second step, which is formatting, and you'll see this little button that says download our cover template, and you just click on that. And then once you click this, it'll give you a zip file that you can download and extract to get the PDF that you need to use as a template. So I just uploaded my cover, and again, we have to look at it and review it. So now Barnes & Noble put the like trim lines and the bleed lines and the fold lines all on the cover so we can make sure that everything looks like it's in the right spot. I'm actually going to zoom out so we can double check our work there. But you get the idea, and we can see where the barcode is going to go. But it looks good to go, so I'm going to click that I have reviewed and approved my cover, and we're going to click the next button. And this is the part where we get to put in all the details about our book. So because I previously created the paperback version, a lot of this is already in here. So honestly, I don't have a lot of it filled out because, again, I was doing this just to test. But I could add in the subtitle. I could change out the publisher name for my publisher name. And then I can add in the publication date. And I'm actually going to go ahead and click it off as a pre-order so I can put the publication date like way in the future, and then later I can delete it. Then you can put in the short description, the long description. You can preview it to make sure it looks pretty. You get the idea. We're going to move on to the next step. This is where you add the contributors. So if you have any co-authors, you can add that in there. I'm just me, so I have my about the author info section there. We're going to hit the next button. Here we have categories. My category is young adult teens, and then you can also add in more categories. If you want a couple tips on how to think up categories, be sure to check out my KDP uploading tutorial video, because I talked about a few tips on coming up with categories and keywords there. But basically what you want to do is when you get to these steps, you want to have a Google Doc going of all your info of your book. So you already know the keywords, you already know the categories, you already know the description. That way you're just copy and pasting things into Barnes & Noble Press, and then it's simpler, and then you can just hit that next button to get on to the next step. So here we get to the pricing portion. So this is where things get a little bit more disappointing. So it set the retail price at $21.18. The printing cost for the book is $10.59, and the royalty I get is $1.06. And that's because Barnes & Noble Press and Barnes & Noble and whatever you want to else count as retail gets $9.53. And honestly, I like to get a $3 royalty per book sale because I feel like that's just reasonable for indie authors to expect. So if that's the case, I would have to raise my price of my hardcover, which is why when indie authors do hardcover books, you see the price so much higher than regular traditional hardcover books. So I'm going to do $23.99, and that would put me at $2.60 royalty rate. I'm going to try $24.99, and then that would put me at $3.15. So that's more of what I'm comfortable and used to earning per book sale. So that is the retail price right there. But I hope that explains the royalties a bit for Barnes & Noble Press. So with that said, I'm going to hit that save and continue button. This is just saying that you own the rights to the book. If it's public domain, it means that anyone can own the right to the book because it's been released for so long. But I'm going to hit no because I actually own the copyright. And then you have to say if you have an existing version of this book available on Barnes & Noble Press right now. So if your book is printed through Ingram Spark, that means that Ingram Spark will have it so your book is available through barnesandnoble.com. So in that case, I would have to hit yes and then paste in the ISBN like it is right here. But if that's not the case and you don't have your book already for sale on barnesandnoble.com, you would hit that no button. This is just where you can add editorial reviews. So if you had like other authors give quotes about your book or anything like that, you can add that in, or you can just add it in later if you end up getting that information later. Here's where you can add in the ISBN. So like I said earlier, if you publish on Barnes & Noble Press, you need to have a separate ISBN than the ISBN you might use to also publish on, say, Amazon. So you can either upload your own paid ISBN, or, because this is just an experiment for me, I'm just going to use one of Barnes & Noble's free ISBNs. So I'm going to hit that Create Free ISBN button right there, and there's my free ISBN. Alright, so now we just get to review everything, make sure it all looks good, and from here you want to hit that Submit for Approval button. This just submits all your files and all your information, and then Barnes & Noble goes through it, makes sure that there's no weird glitches, and then once you get approval, you can order a copy of the book for yourself. Otherwise, you would just hit this Put on Sale button, and that would basically publish it to the Barnes & Noble website. And if you set it as a pre-order, it will publish it as a pre-order. Or if you didn't set it as a pre-order, it will just instantly publish it. And I assume it takes a couple days for it to show up on the website. I want to order a print copy of this book, so I'm going to hit that Submit for Approval button, and then the Barnes & Noble team will review it. So as far as printing goes, I will say Barnes & Noble takes quite a while to print their books. I believe when I printed my paperback, they said it would take 3 to 4 weeks to print it. And then they also made a note that it takes even longer to print the hardcover books. So it's going to be a while before I physically get these copies of my books in the mail. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and stay tuned, because when I do get the copies in the mail, I will make sure to do an unboxing here on my YouTube channel and review the quality of the books and tell you guys what I think. Otherwise, that is it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, I'll see you all next week.